Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if it's the first time you're visiting. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have not already guessed by the title, today I'm going to be doing my first impressions of popular new fragrances that have released in 2023. So I finally had a chance to gather my thoughts and test these fragrances, and I have a little bit of tea to spill. So if you like the sound of that, then please do keep on watching. So the first fragrance I want to discuss with you is the newest release from Miu Miu, and it is called Fleur de Lait. And as soon as I saw the marketing for this launch, it had me in a chokehold. It is a picture of a Miu Miu bottle, but it's been cut like a cake, so it appears to have cake inside, and then the mango is oozing out. And this one just had me drooling. So when I saw that it was in Harrods, I knew it was meant to be because I was due to be in Harrods the next day, which was yesterday. So I headed over to the Miu Miu counter, and it was the first fragrance that I sampled of the day. And my thoughts are, it smells like, to me, a mango lassi or a kind of mango smoothie slash milkshake. It is pretty linear and straight. It doesn't develop and change much for the life of the wear. Just from my first impressions, you got to bear in mind I didn't wear this on the skin for a full day. I'm going off a paper test strip, which is always not going to give the most accurate representation. But for me, it was very dominant in that mango, and it had a beautiful kind of lactonic vibe, but not milky. It was more that coconut milk that's within the fragrance. And that osmanthus gives it a nice bold roundedness, also adds to the creamy element of the fragrance. Now, is it delicious? Yes, it's absolutely delicious. But in my head, I was kind of thinking, where would I wear a fragrance like this? Because it's not the typical type of scent profile that I would go for. I do like a gourmand, but I like a gourmand that has a lot of depth and other things going on. Whereas I felt like this was very delicious. It smelled very edible. But do I actually want to smell like that? For me, I am not sure. I'm still gathering my thoughts a little bit on this. So it's clear that I didn't actually purchase it on the day just from how I'm talking about it. But I do think it was a great launch from Miu Miu. I think so many people are absolutely going to love this one. And if you like the sound of a straight up kind of mango smoothie, milkshake, mango lassi, then you're probably going to really enjoy Fleur de Lait. This was the one on my list that I was most excited to try. I actually thought I would probably pick up a bottle on the day. But like I said, when I sampled it, I just was thinking, where would I wear this? And I'm trying not to just buy loads of fragrances just to have them in the collection. I will revisit it, and who knows, I might buy it in the future because like I said, it is gorgeous. But yeah, Fleur de Lait is a great one if you like an edible gourmand, but it was a bit of a pass for me yesterday. So the next fragrance that I want to discuss with you is the new Parfums de Marly Valaya. And this one has been so high up on my list to try. I've been very close to blind buying it a few times, but I waited and I sampled it in Harrods yesterday, and this is one that I actually sprayed on my skin too. Now, what do I think about Valaya? I'm still unsure. I think I need more time to play with this one. I would have loved to get a decant of it, and I'm going to try to get a decant of it because I really enjoy the scent profile, but I found it changed quite a lot throughout the day, which is a good thing too. However, it's a little bit different from what I expected, and I have watched a few reviews on it, and I did have a kind of preconceived notion of what it was going to smell like. And to me, I actually perceived it a little bit differently to how other reviewers have spoken about it. It actually developed to be very musky on my skin, and it was projecting quite a lot, and it got stronger the longer I wore it. I don't really know how that works, but maybe it was just because I was trying so many scents, and then after I had finished sniffing and I had some dinner, maybe I could smell it a little bit stronger. But it started to give me a very musky, spun sugar, airy vibe the longer I wore it. And it went from being more of a delicate, soft, orange blossom, floral, feminine, light fragrance. And then it developed into being a very musky, spun sugar and airy fragrance. So that is why I'm saying I need to play with it a little bit more, because I'm not 100% sure how I feel about it at the moment. It was very nice, don't get me wrong, and I think the bottle is phenomenal, but I just need to gather my thoughts a little bit more and just think about if I actually need this in my collection. It's a lot stronger than I was expecting. So like I said, on first sniff, it was more subtle, and then maybe it just does something different with my chemistry, and it just started getting stronger and stronger, muskier. And to be honest with you, I feel like I am going to buy it at some point because I loved how it transitioned on my skin, but I don't want to risk purchasing it at this point until I've played with it a little bit more. I think it's actually a really great release from Parfums de Marly too. It's taken me aback a little bit because I was expecting it to be a very soft, feminine, clean girl vibe, orange blossom scent, and to me it's a lot more complex than that. But I would love to hear your thoughts on Valaya and how you personally perceive it if you have tried it. But yeah, this one was definitely a positive shock for me. So the next fragrance that I really wanted to try is the newest release from Kilian, and it's Can't Stop Loving You. And on paper, this sounds exactly like a fragrance I would really enjoy. So I made sure that I hunted it down in Harrods to sample it. And I have some thoughts. Now, I am personally a little bit disappointed with this release because I feel like it doesn't really stand out too much in the Kilian lineup. I feel like it's a scent profile that I have personally smelt before. Now, I do think it's a nice fragrance. It smells really good, but it just didn't excite me, unfortunately. And you've just got to bear in mind that this is still a first impressions. I might change my mind in the future. However, I was just left a little bit disappointed on a first impressions because I was expecting to smell a little bit more of that honey come through. And with Kilian fragrances, I do think they are normally pretty unique in scent profile. And I just feel like this is a little bit of a safe launch for Kilian. It is probably smart marketing because these are the types of fragrances that are very mass appealing, that are very likable. And that is why I feel like it smells similar to other fragrances, because if a DNA works, it works. But for me, I'm just glad I didn't blind buy it personally, because I would have been left a little bit disappointed on smelling this as a first impressions. Now, I've been seeing a lot of comparisons of people saying that Can't Stop Loving You is similar to Love Don't Be Shy. Now, my personal view on that is I feel like Love Don't Be Shy is way better, way more complex. There's a lot more going on within that fragrance. You're definitely missing that marshmallowy vibe in Can't Stop Loving You. It's a little bit more of a straight orange blossom floral fragrance. And again, I do need to play around with this fragrance a lot more. I feel like please take first impressions with a pinch of salt, because fragrances definitely perform a lot differently when they're worn on the skin, and everyone's skin chemistry is different. But I just want to say that I was a little bit disappointed by this. I was expecting a little bit more from Kilian because it's a brand that I really, really love. But I will revisit it in a video to come. So this is another fragrance that I want to know your views on. If you've sampled it, please do let me know if it's a love or a hate, or maybe you're just neutral in the middle. So the next fragrance I want to discuss with you is the newest launch from DS and DURGA, and it was actually the reason why I was in London yesterday. So I had the privilege of going to the launch event for this fragrance and 3 other Harrods exclusives that they have launched as of yesterday. And this one is the newest one called Pistachio. And pistachio is a note that's not done heavily in perfumery, and it's a note I absolutely love. So best believe I was super excited to be able to attend this event. And when I saw this release, it released a while ago in a very limited quantity. I think they only released 50 bottles and it sold out pretty instantly. And it just listed the notes as pistachio, pistachio, pistachio. However, it now does have a bit more of a breakdown on the notes. So it says here, notes are pistachio, cardamom, more pistachio, roasted almond, even more pistachio, and vanilla cream. So what are my thoughts on this fragrance? Let me get it out of the box to show you a bit of a close-up quickly. So this is a close-up of the bottle, and I think DS and DURGA packaging is really chic. I think it's got a very cool aesthetic, and I'm really drawn to them as a brand from an aesthetic point of view. So this fragrance took me by surprise, actually, because I guess in my head I was expecting it to be quite an edible gourmand, maybe a little bit more feminine leaning, and maybe a little bit more creamy. However, this is completely different from what I expected it to be. And that is a good thing in a way too, because when I actually got to sample it yesterday, I was handed the paper blotter and I was like, oh, okay, this is different. And it took me a while to really get into it and appreciate, because I think when you have a preconceived notion in your head and then you smell something different, it leaves you a little bit confused. So it took me a while to grow with this fragrance yesterday. But the big game changer was actually trying this on the skin. So what I actually did is when I got home, I sprayed it on my fiance's skin, and then today I sprayed it on my own skin just to compare how they smell on both of our skin chemistries. And this is very different on the skin. Now, I'll give you what my first impression was yesterday versus my first impression today. So on the paper test strip, this smelled a little bit like mint choc chip ice cream. I know that's a bit of a weird comparison because this is a pistachio fragrance, but it had that almost bitterness that dark chocolate has. It did have a creaminess there. And I wouldn't say it's necessarily like a minty fragrance, but it has this like fresh airiness that is really hard to explain. And yeah, it just smelled like dark chocolate mint ice cream to me for some reason. So what does it smell like on the skin? When I sprayed it last night on James's skin, I got a lot more of the cardamom, which made me extremely happy because cardamom is a note that I absolutely love. And you absolutely got a lot more of the pistachio. This fragrance is strong, by the way, because it keeps wafting up at me throughout this video because it's on this hand too. And I still get a little bit of that dark chocolate vibe from this, I'm not gonna lie, but the cardamom and the pistachio is a lot more front stage and center. Now, if you're someone that does not like your sweet and sickly gourmands, then luckily pistachio doesn't lean in that way. It's a lot more refined. I feel like it's a lot more grown up too. I feel like this could suit any occasion, and it is gonna leave people intrigued when they smell it because it does have that delicious kind of gourmand quality to it, but it's a lot more complex, it's a lot deeper, a little bit darker, and it has a cool edge to it. But if you're expecting a very sweet, sickly gourmand pistachio fragrance, then this one is not that. I would highly recommend trying this if you have a DS and DURGA counter near you. I will be playing with this a lot more, and I will do a deeper review in the future if that's something that you want to see. But yeah, how I'm perceiving this is lots of cardamom, lots of pistachio, but not a synthetic pistachio at all. This is a real pistachio that's just been opened up out of its shell, and it gives me that kind of roasted goodness. I love pistachios, by the way. It's one of my favorite nuts. And then I'm picking up a kind of dark chocolatey vibe from it. It could be an ice cream, but not a sweet ice cream at all. It would definitely have lots of dark chocolate in there. Lots of pistachio, no synthetic pistachio, and you would maybe be eating like a cardamom spiced cake with it. I don't know. So yeah, that was Pistachio by DS and DURGA. Very grateful to have been able to attend that event, and this fragrance was kindly gifted to me at the event. So yeah, thank you so much to DS and DURGA. And if you want to see a more detailed review on this, please do let me know. The next fragrance that I want to discuss with you is Amouage Guidance. And this fragrance has been getting a lot of love across Instagram and YouTube. And I do actually have a proper 10ml sample of this, which I forgot to bring up to show you, but I will pop the picture on the screen anyway so you can see it. And this one was highly anticipated for me because the notes sounded absolutely incredible. And I actually got to attend a masterclass with the perfumers to learn more about the new fragrances from the Odyssey collection. So there's actually 4 new fragrances within that collection. I have sampled all 4 of them. I have them all here, but I feel like Guidance is the one that's being talked about the most. So I'm going to be discussing that one in particular today. Guidance, wow. This fragrance is so potent, by the way. Like, you probably wouldn't expect it from the note breakdown, but I could do one spray on a paper test strip and it would fill the entire room. I think the fragrance has been masterfully composed. It's actually extremely unique too, but likable. However, I wouldn't necessarily say this would be a safe blind buy by any means, because whilst it is a feminine fragrance, can be worn by anyone, just want to caveat that, but it does take a little bit of a different turn due to some of the more deeper notes within the fragrance. The notes that intrigued me the most was the pear and hazelnut, because I love pear and I love hazelnut, and I was trying to think about how those notes went together. But it also has other notes like ambery, it has akigala wood, it has saffron, it has rose. Tie that in with the pear and hazelnut. I just didn't know what to expect. And I do think this is a very beautiful fragrance. I don't think it suits all occasions, just because it's not the most easy wear. I don't necessarily think it's a mass appealing scent either, but it takes you on a real journey. You get all the elements of a super feminine fragrance. You've got osmanthus, you've got pear, you've got rose, you've got jasmine, even the saffron. But then when you add in those other notes like the akigala wood, you add in the ambergris, you add in that hazelnut, it's just really unique in scent profile. I absolutely love it. I would like to pick up a full bottle at some point. However, this is a pricey fragrance, so we shall see what happens there. I want to go through my 10ml atomizer first and see if it's a true love before adding it to my collection. However, I do think it's a gorgeous fragrance. It is one to be sampled for sure. The bottle is chef's kiss, so aesthetically pleasing. And yeah, I think it is a 10 out of 10 release, to be quite honest with you. And I'm curious to see how my feelings develop with this one over time. The next fragrance I want to discuss with you is the newest fragrance from Maison Margiela from the Replica line, and it is called On a Date. And I have a sample of this one. I've been playing around with it a little bit, and I was extremely excited to smell it just because I felt like it was a little bit different for the lineup. My first impressions were that it was a nice fragrance. I thought it was good. However, the more it developed on my skin, the more it turned into a fragrance that I didn't really care for. And the reason for that is because I felt like it had so much patchouli in the base. On my skin, it just became pretty much a patchouli fragrance. However, I did really like the opening. So in the opening, I can see where the name On a Date has come from. It smells like a sparkling rosé wine, which is really appealing. And the patchouli, I guess, could be the grass around you. And it had that really nice fruity element to it, very syrupy, lots of blackcurrant in there. My first impression was it could be a little bit similar to Armani C Intense. However, the more I wore it and the more I played around with it, the patchouli became so dominant that I wouldn't say those fragrances are similar. But you do get that nice rosé wine or rosé sparkling wine vibe from it. It kind of has a purple grape scent to it. However, this isn't a fragrance that I would personally wear or reach for, so this one is going to be a pass for me, unfortunately. Like I said, it pulled a little bit too heavy on the patchouli. I think if it stayed more within the top and middle notes, I would have been a lot more drawn to it. But even just with the top and middle notes, I probably still wouldn't buy this fragrance. So unfortunately, this one is a pass for my personal taste. The next fragrance is from Lancôme, and it is the new La Vie Est Belle Iris Absolu. This one actually took me by surprise. I like this a lot more than I was expecting to enjoy it. And the reason for that is because I'm not really a La Vie Est Belle kind of girl. I find it a little bit too sweet for my personal preference. However, Iris Absolu, I think, is a very classy fragrance, and I was very drawn to this scent profile in store. I love the combination of the fig, the blackcurrant, the gourmand accord, and then of course the iris. And you absolutely get that kind of powdery, earthy iris vibe from the fragrance, which tones down the original sweetness from this fragrance. Now, again, I haven't played with this on my skin, but I actually think this is such a beautiful fragrance, and it's one that I want to revisit again. I really do enjoy fig in fragrances, and when you combine the fig and the iris and the gourmand or cord, whatever that is, it made for a very unique flanker in my opinion, and I think it's one well worth checking out if you're an iris fan, because like I said, it just tones down the sweetness of the original La Vie est Belle DNA and kind of opens it up to a new audience in a way. So this is one that I definitely want to sample again. Please do let me know if you want me to review this one, because I would be happy to actually purchase this one if I find a good deal and I could do a more detailed review. So yeah, that was La Vie est Belle Iris Absolu. And the last fragrance that I want to discuss is from Paco Rabanne, and it is the new Olympia Flora. And this one actually took me by surprise because I liked it more than I thought I was going to like it. Now, one thing I will say is I'm not a big fan of the bottle. I just don't think it's that aesthetically pleasing to my eye personally. I prefer the original Olympia bottles, but I understand that they wanted to make it stand out and look a little bit different from the collection. But it was a very pretty, girly, feminine fragrance. I think a lot of people are going to like this one. It is not that similar to Olympia at all. It's got a lot more fruity notes in there. It's got more florals in there. I got a lot of blackcurrant in the opening. They had pink pepper, it has sorbet, it has rose, it has peony, it has salt in the base. And yeah, it's just a very nice fragrance, one I definitely want to play with a little bit more. Do I really need it in my collection? No, I don't really need it, but is it a nice new launch? I think so. So that was the last fragrance that I wanted to discuss today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I do like doing first impressions of new releases. It's really fun to me to just walk around a department store and sample all of these new releases. I absolutely love it, and I hope you do too. Was there anything on this list that stood out to you? Either you want to try it or you've already tried it, or have you sampled any other new releases for 2023 that you think are absolutely incredible? Please do let me know down in the comments, because I just want to explore all of the new fragrances. Thank you so much for watching today. It's been a pleasure as always. I hope to see you all in a future video to come. Thank you so much, and goodbye.